No. Oh, no, Bar. No. Oh, Gracie, no. No, no. Especially right now. Ah, hmm.
Peter, I'll be right with you in a couple of minutes.
Okie dokie. Good morning, good morning, good morning, or afternoon or evening.
Good morning, Peter. I think it's a morning for you.
Yes, I keep forgetting that I'm talking to people all over the world. Well, I will go ahead and we'll get started. So welcome, men, to the fifth meeting of Men and Money Challenge. And I would love to know how things are going for you. So let's take a couple of minutes. And if you guys have any wins, losses, setbacks, need support on anything, chime up and we'll see what we can do to support you and learn from you. So just feel free to open up your mic and jump in. There's Philip. Goodness sakes. Okay, good. Philip,
Yeah.
lead us off.
So, Peter, yeah, I think I shared this in another group. So Siddharth knows about this. So yesterday I had a sales call with a prospective client, uh, and I pitched a number that I've never pitched before. In context, in September, whatever I made $14,000. I made with three clients. I pitched her $13,000 with one client, and she did not flinch or bat an eyelid. But she's not on board yet. She needed a week to think about things. So then I went back to my sales coach to check what does that mean. I'm trying to, as a guy, trying to analyze what could her possible moves be. He came to the conclusion that because I didn't close her on the call, I might have a 10% chance of her hearing back from her. But then me knowing my clients, and especially women, they do their due diligence when it's big numbers like this, and knowing the client, this particular lady as well. I think she's taking her time, and reasonably so. But now I'm torn. My sales coach telling me that 10% likelihood of her returning sunk my mood for the day and made me question myself and my confidence. Obviously, I'm going for a very huge number and very big things. But so is it that, or is it I just need to stay patient and everything's actually smooth and okay? Need your love and support, Peter, and your guidance, obviously.
Well, it's kind of funny that you're talking about $13,000. It's very strange because I just earned $13,000 with my first family legacy mediation. It just happened to be exactly the same amount.
Exactly. Oh my God. Okay. Okay. I'm
Now,
listening now. I'm listening.
and also just remember you can always communicate with people. You can say, you know what? I'm an entrepreneur. I'm always learning something new. And I'd like to know, what was going on with you, not to sell you, but just for my own learning, my edification. And it helps build a bond with them and transparency and vulnerability and being real. And you might learn something there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we got on very well, and I was very vulnerable with her. She was as well. So we understood each other. My gut was saying, she knows what she's doing. Give her the space. Don't follow up on her, chase up on her. She knows who I am, what the deal is, what you see, what you get kind of guy. And I gave her 3 references of results I've got for others that she can cross-reference, which is the results she wants as well. So it's all there. But what you said is good. So probably I might drop in a line saying, hey, just for my learning, what was going through your head at that time? That might be a good thing.
Hey, I'm being slightly distracted by the four-legged friend here in the office.
Yes, I have one here. There's a cat. So
Well, yours doesn't bark.
no.
Let's go on to David.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks.
Hello guys, and hello Peter. So yeah, basically, so what I've posted in the group is I decided to see the taxes stuff as a positive because that means I can do with about 300 and so, or for I don't remember exactly the amount, but yeah, I can do with that less per month. So that means I can put that aside if I need to. And as I said, I've paid for a few other things this month that are not absolutely necessary. Uh, so yeah, that's a very nice experiment in a way because yeah, that means that I can do better with my settings. So that's a that's a very there is a voice speaking in the background. I'm not sure
Yeah, so
what is it.
all of a sudden Siri decided to have a conversation with me, so I'm going to just turn it off
Oh,
completely.
okay. Hello Siri.
Okay.
Sorry, before we continue, and sorry, David, can I request that anybody else AI note taker or recording thing be disconnected from this call? I don't feel comfortable with my confidential stuff being recorded by other than Peter. Is that okay?
Uh,
Yeah, I put a note into Peter that he can kick it out. I don't have access to it on this side. I don't even know why
Okay,
it's in here.
thanks. Yeah.
let's see. I've got my note taker in here, which is only going to be shared with you guys, just so that people who miss the calls can read it.
And that's great. If anybody else's should be like removed.
I think there's Michael Fathom's new note taker. I can remove that, I think. I hope it doesn't throw Michael out, but
No,
Just throw it out, and if I get knocked out, I'll come back in without it.
okay. All right.
Great. Thanks,
Yeah,
Mike.
there you
I
go.
I just did it. So uh, those note takers are really handy, but they sort of automatically show up, which is sometimes helpful, sometimes not. So, but thanks for speaking up. This is all in service of what works for you guys. And we're video recording it too, so it'll be available to you guys to review, but on an unlisted link. So, David, you
So yeah,
I'm
to
sorry
finish
because
what you said.
can you summarize what you said and if you need anything?
Not exactly. It was more like to share a win. And maybe one last thing. I discovered a guy on YouTube who is doing something I really want to do. So basically, he bought about 300 acres of desert land in Texas and is trying to make it into turn it into a forest. And how is he able to get the money, etc. It's because he got his own business, so it's his rule basically. So that's also like a little spark for what I need to do for what I want to get. So yeah, with that, I am in.
Uh, well, good luck with that. Um, there's a lot going on in Texas with real estate, that's for sure these days. All right, well, let's move along. I'm going to bring up the PowerPoint screen and I'm going to play the slideshow here. Need to go in this way, I think. Okay, we're getting the hang of this. Oh, Sid, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I had a quick check-in and my hand went down automatically. I
Oh,
just wanted to say, I think what the challenge has done for me is kind of put me in a really creative place about money. I think I love the money game. I love making money unabashedly. I tell people I like money almost as much as I like sex, right? And not in a and not in a way which like I'm like I really look at it like a game. I love it, right? And I think what this conversation over the last few weeks has done is just put a little put a little fire under my ass a little bit in a good way. And I'm just really enjoying thinking about, you know, new ways of making it, having fun with it without any without any attachment of like getting anything done. I think within the next like 60 days, I'll have a new income stream. I don't know where it's going to come from, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to have one. It'll probably not be significant in terms of amount, but it'll grow into something significant eventually, and I'm going to have so much fucking fun with it. So that's where I am with it. So that's my check-in. I'm in with that.
Sid, we're going to be giving you a plug for your upcoming challenge because it's such a good fit. And I'm finding this is helpful too, something I've been working toward for over 10 years. And I just got another lead yesterday for it. I had not had any actual full-fledged clients. I had little conversations, but now I've got four since we started this course. And that's where I earned $13,000 just from one engagement. So anyway, we're going to have fun for sure. If it's not fun, why do it? We're talking about entrepreneurialism today. And even if you're not self-employed, these concepts are just really essential, I think, to life and money and careers in this day and age. So old Mark says the biggest risk is not taking any risk. And what I tell people in investing is you cannot avoid risk. They're just different kinds of risk. And that's okay. If you go for the stable, so-called secure investments, you're not going to keep up with inflation. And that's a real risk too. It just creeps up on you slowly. So we're all taking risks anyway. And I guess it's getting good at it. And we'll talk about how to do that and apply it to our careers and money life. So the mindset, again, our relationship with money is what we're focusing on. And the mindset is all important. So an entrepreneur has to develop skills constantly, has to develop confidence and creativity, resourcefulness that we talked about last time. And so our outcome today that I'd like to get to is embracing that entrepreneurial mindset for finding opportunities, facing challenges, building skills, nurturing confidence and creativity, regardless of whether you're an entrepreneur. That sounds like a lot of work, but really certain things will resonate and certain things will um, occur to you after we talk about them. And you'll find that you know more than you think you do. So please don't feel overwhelmed. Uh, just notice what is present for you right now in your next step. We're going to draw on elements from our previous sessions, including talking about our inherent beliefs, gaining clarity and the power of that consciousness, awareness, and building resilience for sure. So embrace change. Phoning it in isn't going to cut it anymore, whether you're an employee or an entrepreneur. So I would like you guys to share just through chat one challenging situation that you've encountered in the past, and what skill or mindset shift, oops, helped you face the challenge?
I can go first. I mean, I can think of a number of problems, both personal and professional, but I think the single biggest thing that helps me shift is just stop blaming and take some responsibility. Right? I think when I bring the locus of control within my agency, that's when anything's shifted in my life ever. So I think, yeah, that as a mindset, and also a skill sort of helped me move.
Yeah, it's a pattern of thinking. And we can either take responsibility or we can blame, and we have no control over the external world. So we might as well take responsibility. Gives us some agency and a different mindset of looking for answers rather than waiting for someone else to hand them to us. Feel free to throw your comments into the chat if you want, and we'll take a couple more raised hands. So, Philip, welcome back here.
Yeah, so my situation was earlier used to be a deprivation thinking, and I shifted to an abundance thinking. And oh my God, after yesterday's call with that lady, I realized how much money my niece is willing to invest for solutions. And I was gobsmacked. I was shocked how much money she is making and how much she wants to make and how much she's willing to pay for solutions. Shifting to that abundance mindset has completely changed my way of looking at things. And I am not charging anything less than 30,000 ever again, and or a client who can't afford that. So I have, even if I don't get her as a client, just talking to her has changed my outlook so much, simply because I stopped thinking from deprivation.
Wow, cool. Awesome. Philip. I mean, Philip, we just had you. I don't know how to move along on this little list here. I guess well, Benny, you're up now.
Yeah, about 16 years ago, this is about the money in the situation. 16 years ago, I got fired from a job. I had a mortgage to pay. I was newly married. So I went into a networking mode. I just called up people I knew or had thing. And within 3 weeks, I was able to find a what you call consulting job or 1099 job.
Mm-hmm.
And as I look back on it a year after that, I look back on it and I realized I actually made more money in that 1099 job than I was if I had stayed in that uh, job that I was fired from.
Are you
It's,
back to being an employee or are you
oh yeah, I got a full-time job the following. It happened in October. The following April, I started the new job with the same job I've been on since 15 years. It's just a mile away from my house, and it pays more. It's more satisfying, and it all turned out great.
well, that's encouraging. I wanted to say that or I wanted to ask you, what do you think is the greatest benefit of failure? So you sort of failed at the old job.
It forces me to step up, uh, take on new skills I've never done before. Like I was never big on networking and stuff like that.
Mhm.
It forced me to do that. So,
Well, for me, one of the biggest pluses of failure is surviving. The fact that I've survived so many things, I can now laugh off a lot of circumstances that would have had me twisted into knots before. So I think just getting knocked down helps us realize that, okay, that happened. It's not the end. but I love your story. Thank you for that. Um, I have, I think I have some other comments here. The reason I brought up the entrepreneurial mindset as a topic or a session for us is that as an entrepreneur myself for the last 35 years, I have been challenged to do every gosh darn thing that I never wanted to do. Now I'm going to embrace this in the Glover spirit, and I'm going to say every goddamn thing I never wanted to do. Public speaking, oh my gosh, firing employees, marketing, all of these things. In fact, I used to get so nervous meeting clients in my first days that it would be nervous for days. One time I was I was giving a talk or something the next day, and I was dancing around the office I shared with a CPA with a palm leaf over my head, a big plant leaf. I mean, it's just been something else. And now I really look forward to meeting people. Now I look forward to public speaking. I can't wait to get together with you guys. I look forward to it every week. And I was a guy who wouldn't do any public speaking, even in a small group years ago. So I wanted to look at it from the perspective of entrepreneurs and what makes us so powerful if we stick with it. And it's being forced to do things that we didn't want to do to expand our horizons because we can't just quit any more than you can just quit from life. Like, okay, I don't feel like shopping for food or working this week. No, I'm sorry. That's not an option. So entrepreneurialism forces us into showing up and developing parts of ourselves that we've been hiding from forever, for years. And there's a lot of value in it. I'm not saying that any of us have to take on difficult things if we don't want to, but there's so much value as we look back on it. And even if you're working for someone else, if you take an entrepreneurial attitude, which we'll get into some of the breakdown, what that's made up of, your boss is going to love you and it's going to be good for your business. And you'll develop some of the resourcefulness, the resilience, and the tools to survive in that job, thrive in it, and survive even if that job goes away. So I think it's useful to all of us. And thanks for sharing the story there. Taking responsibility for our lives and our careers is absolutely essential. So whenever we grow, we're going into new territory, there's some discomfort involved. And this echoes Glover's work. So we want to reframe discomfort and fear instead of as something dangerous, as just something that's normal, essential part of growth. I heard a couple of stories lately about Paul McCartney, and if anybody had confidence, it'd be the Beatles, right? The first time they were going to be on Ed Sullivan, Paul asked the producer, like, how many people will be watching? And the producer said 72 million people. And Paul went, oh shit. That was a big leap for them. And they went through that discomfort as they grew. And he said it helped him when he was on stage at Sullivan because all of his habits came to the fore and he'd done performances so much in the past that carried him through it. So we have to like nibble away at our boundaries, our growing edges. And personally, I favor baby steps. I don't want to be too uncomfortable. So I take it slow and you get there, 1,000 small steps. Um, do any of you have a story to share about your own personal overcoming some kind of a fear and seeing growth out of it? Just maybe one story. Michael from Florida, come in.
Yeah. I I posted an article about this on the timeline, but when I was in college, I decided that I was going to be an entrepreneur, and my dad had just opened a bar in Central America, and so I walked out on my finals and called him and told him I was coming down to learn how to run the business. And my thought, like I had been bartending, so my thought was I'd start bartending and work my way up. And I got there, and he had just had to fire the manager for stealing. So he asked me just to manage the whole thing, and I was there for 4 years, and it was like a dumpster fire from start to finish. um, like within the first couple of days of being there, bill collectors were showing up, and I realized like it was not in a good place. And my dad is not a detail oriented person. He's much more of a visionary who can't be bothered with the minutia. And it turns out I'm the same way. So neither of us had any business running a restaurant where you have to count inventory every single day. But yeah, it was just like it was 4 solid years of like intense failure in public because it wasn't that big of a city, and we were the two white guys running this bar. So like everybody saw it, and our reputation was horrible as things were getting financially worse. And it was like about as stressful and painful a growth experience as I've had. And like along the way, I was having to learn the language and learn how to try to manage employees who really didn't respect me because I was way younger than them and spoiled. And but ever since then, like the idea of failure, it doesn't scare me because that was like as bad of a failure as I could have, and it was my first time out or my first at bat. And so I always like, and I had this tendency when I was in my early 20s to seek like the most uncomfortable experience, and I've learned to kind of scale that back a little bit. And but I still, live in some degree of discomfort all the time. So that's my experience.
I like that. That's a great comment. Living in discomfort, maybe all the time. It occurred to me recently that that's kind of how I'm living my life too. Um, and my takeaway is life wasn't designed to be comfortable, and that's okay. So I'd like to just take a moment to do a mindset shift exercise and have each of you write down for yourself a skill or a situation that you currently avoid or feel anxious about. And what we're going to do is then reflect on what might happen if you embraced it as an opportunity. Might be a little hard to envision that unless you've done it with other areas in your life. But what's the most difficult thing you could face that would move your career or your money situation forward? Yeah, that one. Don't have to tackle it this week, but just to identify it, notice it. Begin to explore it instead of avoiding it. When we can acknowledge the anxious parts of ourselves, honor them and listen to them, a lot of the anxiety goes away. It's our fear of not being able to handle things that really gets us. Ash, welcome in. Huh. I'm not hearing you, Ash. I don't know why, because you're not muted now. Anyone else hearing him?
No.
Oh, there we go. Oh, I don't know. That might have been. Yeah, I guess for some reason we don't have audio on Ash. Ash, come back and share what you have uh, in a bit. Mike from Johannesburg, or yeah, welcome in.
Thanks. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, um, well, a situation that I'm like anxious about, or uh, I'm trying to go full time as a stock trader, and I want to leave my current job. Obviously, I need, but this causes me a lot of stress and anxiety. Obviously, I have a very well paying job. I'm concerned about the instability, um, and but I'm trying to think about like what is the approach I would take to embrace this as an opportunity to learn, besides just learning how to correctly buy stocks and sell them and manage risk. It's also like, how do you do this as a full-time job? What is the amount of money that I need? And um, so this is basically the stuff that it's causing me a lot of anxiety. Like, I'm at a certain age in my life that, can I pull this off? And there's a lot of anxiety around it.
So there was a little breakup in the audio at the beginning, um, and I didn't hear what you were working towards becoming, but I gather
Oh,
from
becoming a full-time stock trader.
um, from my perspective, and it's just mine, uh, I think there's a reason it's valid to feel anxious about that. And my experience is that most people don't do very well with that. It's a very, very challenging area. And so I would say honor your anxiety and do as much research as you can about why some people are successful at it, why some aren't, for example. It's easier than ever to do research and to find creative ways to tackle things. So uh, that's that's really tough because the more you look at it, the more the emotions get stirred up. And we've talked about it before, but I do support you and wish you luck. And if you find that it's not working for you, that won't be the end of the world either. You'll learn something out of everything. But yeah, I think get rich slowly is very possible, but it doesn't take full time to do that. So a separate discussion, and if you're curious about what I think, then feel free to reach out. Um, so anybody else want to pop in for a minute?
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, Ash.
Oh, thank you so much. So I'll be honest, I am trying to scale my business. I'm comfortable where I am now. I'm trying to go to another location. I don't have a space. I don't have a manager. I don't have people to work there. It's a total new territory. I don't have money too in my pocket to start out. So, so I'm trying to scale it. So I'm trying to figure out how do I allocate all these resources and then execute it. So I embrace any kind of input on this situation.
My input is that there are many ways to solve your problem about, say, having a manager or whatever. Um, you just need somebody who maybe is willing to share in the risk with you. So traditional ways of thinking are fine, but we got to think outside the box as entrepreneurs. So look for creative ways to solve the same problems. And I would say start really small because you will learn as much, maybe more, if you start with a little pilot project. If I were a teacher, teaching just one person, I would learn a lot about doing that, how to, my platform, I would be engaging with a person who is a separate human being, different view of the world. Just begin, with what you have and don't risk too much in the early stages. I'm not here really to give advice. I'm here to bring you guys out of your shells so we can continue the conversations
How do I
online.
change, Michael? My question is, how do I change my fear-based mentality to abundance, which Philip was saying? He quickly shifted it, and it looks like he has a switch he turns on and off kind of a thing. But for me, it's not that easy to not have anything in my pocket and then go transcend to something which is bigger and a vision kind of a thing to build a bigger thing. So that's my question too.
I'm going to reiterate my recommendation to try baby steps because I don't think confidence is built overnight. I think it's a lifelong process. Um, Draw on successes that you have, like do your friends hold you in high regard? Have you written an article that people liked? Draw on those kinds of things. Try it on a small scale. It won't be as scary. Um, Give away product just to get experience in it, and be thinking about what you're contributing rather than what you're getting. You need to take care of the getting in order to keep going. But if you focus on yourself, that's for some reason just leads to anxiety no matter what, because that then you're questioning your own self and your ability. But anyway, got a lot to cover. Over to you, Sid.
Yeah, I think and my big fear is sort of to get into partnership with people. And I feel like I leave so much opportunity on the table because I want to avoid that for like there's a fear of, losing flexibility, losing autonomy. If something doesn't work out, then having to untangle it. And so that just sounds like a lot. And I know like I could be doing so much more with partnerships. I don't know. I haven't broken through with that yet. Yeah.
That's been my toughest nut to crack. I guess 3 times now I had incredible opportunities and they got dashed on the rocks because of the people I was working with who quit or didn't perform. Um, and, it's like $1 million each time would be the likely value of those 3 things. So let's work on that together over time. It's a bit of a conundrum, but I do believe in creativity and that there's answers to questions out there. If we want to accomplish or have a big impact on the world, we have to work with others. We have to have teamwork because by ourselves, we're not much. So how do we do it without risking everything and gambling? Because it takes time for me to get to know people. Um, I appreciate your hand raised, Philip. I'm going to move on because I do want to get to the end. Only had 10 slides, but um, so every time we have a challenge, it is an opportunity for skill building. Um, yeah, just diving in and building all the skills. They say luck is where preparation meets opportunity. So the stronger your network is, or the more tech skills you have, um, the resources, the mentors, the friends, places to go where you can get answers, and building up a bit of a financial nest egg so that you can take a little bit of risk here and there. and not have it completely trip you up if it doesn't work. So I'd like you to break into small groups for a few minutes. And the scenario that I created was pitching an idea to a colleague over lunch, which I think is a little bit on the edge for people. I found that financial planners and lawyers don't really do much marketing and they don't like to do it. And this is really part of marketing, is telling our story. So if you were to pitch an idea to a colleague over lunch, maybe you're working on something now, how would you approach it from start to finish? And then, so try that discussion in small groups. Sid, if you break people up into maybe dyads too in a group. And what we're trying to do is just to exercise our creativity and thinking through something that we will probably be doing that we might be a little bit shy about. So break into small groups and we'll give you like 4 minutes to explore that together, 2 minutes each.
Marcus. Okay, I'll join Philip. I think Marcus is maybe offline.
Okay.
Guys, I just had a little issue. I was paired with the not taking AI. Can you can you hear me?
Yeah, I can, David. Since Sid got into a small group, um, I don't know if you heard the instructions, but you could
Yeah,
share
I
with me.
got the instruction. I was just matched with you're not taking your AI, so obviously it's not going to be a very talkative.
If you want to use me as your partner and share with me how you would pitch an idea to a colleague.
Um, well, what I will do is try to transmit the passion behind the idea, like show how much I believe in it and how I think it also has like it's not just an opportunity to make some money, but also some way to give back some values. Like there's a lot of way today you can get rich quick with shit like drop shipping and stuff. So, but it doesn't do any good for anyone. except the one who are making the money. So yeah, for me that will be like you you try to keep the plan as simple as possible for two reasons. So the first being for the colleague so that they can understand it properly, and the second being that if it's simple enough, you like if you can explain something very simply, it means that you understood it thoroughly. So yeah, that would be, I guess, my way of approaching it. And yeah, so there's the pitching, and I think the feedback too is important. Like, what does that person think, and is that person opinion like? Does it have something to do with the person in particular or with the idea? Like, if I'm pitching something about permaculture to some Wall Street guy, he will not give a shit about it. But if it's some to more environmentally conscious people, well, it will be better received. Unless maybe I fail to explain properly something, and yeah, so I guess that's it for me.
Uh, so based on what you said, certainly showing our passion is very important, but you would learn more about what works and what doesn't work by having lunch with people. So if it didn't work, you could take that and say, what can I change that would make it better? So in other words, in my view, no conversation is ever wasted. It's always either helpful or a learning experience. And frankly, I find that conversations I had 10, 20 years ago come back and bear fruit. So you may not see it in the moment even, but I'll talk more about other aspects of this when we come back together. Um, One thing I'll share with you as a preview is I found that if you ask other people what their passions are, that opens them up and gets them talking and engaged. Welcome back, gentlemen. Welcome back. Um,
Thank you, Peter.
let's have one or two quick check-ins, or type it into the chat. And how did that go? Did it stretch you in any way? Did you see new possibilities? Not Tony. I was just going to call on you. I was going to reverse the tape.
I'm shy. I don't want to talk. Yeah.
Good. Then I'll call on you more often.
Oh, thank you. I just had a nice little chat with Benny about his thing and my thing. Um, what was good for me was just getting a handle on the common sense practical things. Like my thing is I want to think about doing a little webisode, web series entertainment. I usually do bigger things, but that's way too risky right now, and it hasn't worked out well. So I'm thinking in your, um, what you said, baby steps, and
Mm,
doing, little 3 minute, 5 minute episodes with two actors and posting it on YouTube costs very, very little, and
mm.
it could build up to something perhaps. And so Benny just gave me the obvious. You need crew, you need some capital, you need some really at least two really good actors. And all of that is just, wow, okay, that's identifiable, obvious, but so true. Instead of just thinking about some grand result, it's like, here's the building blocks. So that was helpful to me just to bring it down to earth.
Awesome. Awesome. Tony, how about you?
That's me.
Oh,
Thank you.
maybe by the 10th session or the 8th session, rather. Okay. Well, thank you for that. I have a couple of comments because I turned from the shy guy into the marketing monster somehow over the years. Nothing is more fun to me than marketing. And I don't see it as sales. And I don't see it as advertising. Advertising has low trust, high cost, not very effective. And if we're selling skills or knowledge, then we have to do it ourselves. We really can't outsource it. If it's something that's replicatable, fine, you can have other people help. But oftentimes we need to tell our own story. And what I find is this just happened yesterday. I'll use an example. I talked to a woman who sells basically herbs and salves and natural products that she packages herself. And she's quite knowledgeable. She's a PhD and all kinds of things, nature girl kind of person. I talked to her a few years ago and bought a couple of products from her. But apparently, what I said about my passion for families and legacy had an impact on her. So I saw on LinkedIn it was her birthday, so I just reached out and out of good wishes for her, it wished her happy birthday. And I said, I don't know if you remember me, but greetings from California. And she wrote back, oh, I certainly do remember you. And I am now involved in setting up my own legacy. And I just took your survey online. And my business has been such a success, we wanted to set up a foundation. That's pretty good for me because usually foundation is like $10 million or up that you can afford to just set aside to give away. Um, she's an amazing person, and I can't wait to connect with her and find out more. But these conversations I uh, have so often brought me clients after 10 or 20 years. It's amazing how they kind of turn into opportunities. So two things that I tell beginning financial planners to do in their marketing, which means any conversation, any communication. Show the passion that you have for your work. Let it out, you know, and show that you care about the other person. If I go to a auto repair shop, if they're really into their work and they love it and they show that they care about me and getting my problem solved or me as a person, I don't need to know anymore because their passion is going to ensure that they have the level of knowledge I need because they're going to be enjoying it and diving deeper into it. And if they care about me, I get the benefit of all that. So what else do I need to know? So I would say if we're reaching out to have a lunch with somebody, first ask them what their passion is, because that will open up their listening. They will be engaged in the conversation. They will be, they're drawn out of their shell. They got their juices pumping. It's respectful. It's interesting. It's relationship building. And it opens up the door to being really heard when you share what you're passionate about. So those would be my, I'm not here really to teach, but to facilitate. But that's my experience. You don't have to worry about what to talk about. Just talk about your mutual passions. If you don't know it, you are creative. Everybody is creative. We're made in the image of God, and God is creative. There's lots of ways to look at it, but if you embrace it as a muscle that you can strengthen, every decision you make, every choice, that's creativity. Every time you see a connection between things, creativity. If you're a musician, you're aware of it, you stumble into it. I have an article that I'm posting on the site about creativity, and we won't go through the exercise because we're running out of time. But if you think about problems that you face, just ask the question, how can I solve this? And I'm using chatbots to help me these days. and I'm going right for the meat of the matter. I wanted to generate an extra 5 to 10,000 a month to pay my damned attorney, who you keep hearing about, and he keeps asking for more money. So I went to ChatGPT and I said, I need a plan to get an online course up and be making 5,000 a month by the first quarter of next year. How do I get there? And gosh, it was so supportive and encouraging and expressed excitement about the project. Um, and it will automatically go and look for pieces of the puzzle and how other people do it and are successful at doing that. So I enhance my own creativity by practicing looking around, using tools, talking to people, listening to the news and random things online. Or subconsciously, I've got my eyes out for answers to questions. So it's really asking those questions. The keys to cultivating an entrepreneurial mindset, and these are in another article online. I'm sorry, ignoring you guys with your raised hands. Definitely take responsibility. That will put you in the position of looking for the answers. It will put you in the position of owning and being an agency, having agency in your life rather than being a victim. Engage in creative problem solving. Just covered that. You want to be able to adapt to change with agility. So in our past sessions, we've talked about how do you keep yourself healthy and your battery charged so that you can be agile. If you're exhausted, if you're lost in negative thoughts, you can't be very agile. You want to be in a place where if you're in the outfield playing baseball and that fly ball comes your way, you're going to be ready to catch it because you never know when that is, right? It's amazing. Just things pop out 24/7. Move toward your vision. Don't get lost in the how to, but think about the general principles of what you're trying to achieve rather than I have to arrive at this place to be a success. Like a vision would be I want to help families have successful transitions and prepare the next generation. Anything that supports that is fine. It doesn't have to be, oh, I'm going to build a school that people are going to go to and send their kids to and, do it this way. No, keep it, I'm moving towards something, not to something. Building your own resilience and a little bit of risk tolerance through practicing taking small risks. Focusing on what you're giving rather than what you're getting. And really not much happens without other people. So, and it's a great joy once we begin to establish those connections. So building collaboration and networking skills and continuous learning and self-improvement. I'm learning faster now and more than I ever learned previously in my life, which amazes me, but I'm so excited about it at the same time. So I wanted to cover that, and then I want you to take on this week one small actionable step, some little appetizer for or problem solving that you want to take on. Share it online when you come up with it in our integration nation conversation areas. And when you get it, write it down and lean into it this week. For those of you who are entrepreneurs, who have your own business, this book is absolutely brilliant. Guy Raz has this segment on public radio called How I Built This. It's also a podcast. This book is just so concise and so useful, so insightful. It's so encouraging. It simplifies some of the major areas where entrepreneurs need to, find resources, find people, find money, market. And the audio version of it is fantastic. And he narrates it himself. It is, I just can't say enough good about it. We're putting up a couple articles like the universality of creativity. Sid, would you give a quick summary of what you're going to be doing with the Start a Side Hustle challenge? Because that I'm going to sign up for that. I have signed up.
Peter's already signed up. By the way, I didn't pay Peter for this plug, and I didn't know he was going to do it, but I appreciated Peter. But here's the thing. I'm obsessed with starting new things and converting things that are fun for me into business opportunities. I've done that several times over a 20-year career, and I just get excited about just helping people do that. Right now David and I were having a secret personal chat about what I think he should convert his hobby into business, and we're going to chat right after this. That's just what I enjoy. And I'm hoping to take about a dozen guys to their first $500 in the 90 days. My goal is to help everyone make up for the fee of the challenge by the time they finish the challenge. Low on theory, more on action, and just have fun. Take like some wild ideas, wild swings with very little investment and make something of it. Play a game with me. That's my invitation.
When I read the things that you've accomplished, just jumping out of the box completely, I was incredibly impressed and excited. So I recommend that people read what you've done yourself because you're not just talking the walk, you're walking it. And I'm using chatbots to the extent that I'm helping a lot of my clients now with books, with their businesses, with finding jobs, with my own business. In fact, I'm probably going to be offering you guys a bonus session, no extra cost, just on using chatbots as sort of entrepreneurs. So there's answers out there. People have solved these problems. They've walked this walk before. And that is it. Next week, we're going to talk about relationships and money because all things revolve around people in our lives, for better or for worse. And next week, we're going to be 1 hour earlier because we're going off of daylight savings time in the US and other places. So it depends on where you are. If you're in Arizona, ignore this, but we'll still be at 5 o'clock Universal time or Zulu time. We will have the slides, the transcript, video recording, and articles up on the Integration Nation website within the next 24 to 48 hours. So that's going to be available to you on an ongoing basis. Appreciate your participation. Sorry to those that I didn't get to with raised hands, but I'm open to that now. And anybody who has to leave, we can make this honorable leaving time. And I'll stick around for a few minutes. So
Peter, I just wanted to thank Ari, sorry, because he kind of like said something very interesting when I was like talking about pitching and all. He actually made me go back to how I started this whole thing. And he said, you already done it. Why are you scared about or whatever? Then that's what was very interesting. Thank you, Ari, for giving me that huge insight. Now, when I started taking that and then I started thinking about it, if I've already done it once, then the doing it second time should be a lot more easier and a lot more smarter too. I'm not going to make those stupid mistakes of hiring wrong people, investing in wrong places, marketing and doing stuff which is useless. So thank you, Ari, for doing that today.
Ash, I notice you use the word stupid. I use it too, but it indicates that we're hard on ourselves. So I can guarantee you will make mistakes in the future. The only way to avoid it is to not try to do anything. And some people do take that route. But congratulations on taking risks and learning and having the optimism to carry on. I think that's great.
Thank you.
Mhm. So if you'll take your hand down, how do we do that? Then I can see who's up next after you, Ash. Okay, Mr. Michael.
All right. I'm probably just looking for permission to spend a bunch of money right now. Um, I got this. I've been a freelance writer for like 4 years and it's gone well. But I've been on, it's always a roller coaster. I don't know if Mike's still on here. We got cut off when we were talking. No, he's not. But he was talking about, making a lot of money some months and having nothing going on for a couple months and then so I've been on that roller coaster and I'm fairly comfortable with it now, but
Hmm.
for a while I've been, you know, knowing that I need to kind of level it up and take the next step to, do something, especially with ChatGPT coming into the world. Like the low-hanging fruit as a writer is definitely drying up and it's much less writing and much more managing AI, which is cool, but it also just devalues it like crazy. Like I had a client who I worked with for several years and eventually he came to me and he's like, listen, like I want to keep working with you, but essentially I want to hire you full time at a 40% pay cut to what I'm paying you now. It's like,
Hmm.
nope, I'll see you later, bud. And and anyways, so I found this online community slash, kind of business framework course training that I'm, you know, a step away from pulling the trigger on. It's not cheap. It's like $7,000. Um, but when I started this business, I spent that kind of money and mainly for the accountability and just having the accountability and the framework and having people who can be like, this is the next step. This is the next step. And so I'm just at the decision point of doing that right now. It's a perfect time because I've just stopped working with some clients. From a financial perspective, I'm basically going to have to borrow to finance this to start with. Um, but I'm looking at the worst case scenario, and the worst case scenario would be I have to just sell enough to make my money back. The better case scenario is the promises that they're making play out properly. Um, So I don't know. I guess I don't know if there's a question here. I guess I'm just looking for validation to pull the trigger because I'm going to be on a sales call with them on tomorrow, and it's just been on my mind.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that entrepreneurial decision. Should I invest more in myself? Is it
Yeah.
going to pay off? Is it worth my time? Have you done a thorough job of researching outcomes for other people who've been part of this organization?
Yeah, and yes, I have, and there's definitely plenty of success. Like the people who reach the highest levels of it is, minimal, but I also think that's pretty much standard with anything. It's, a certain percentage of people are actually going to achieve the highest result, and then the rest of the people are um, doing well, but maybe not, at 100% of what was promised. And I think I have a pretty good online bullshit radar when it comes to what I'm being sold. And I'm newer to these guys' community, but I really like all the information they're putting out either at low cost or for free. Like they've given it away already. So you're essentially paying for the accountability in the community and just like you're in there for life and they have 3 to 4 weekly trainings, one of them being a sales training, which actually interests me. Like actually formally educating myself on some sales. And so, but to answer your question, yes, there is quite a bit of online testimonial.
This just popped into my head, but I think it's the truth. The value of the course will be entirely dependent on your commitment to it, your investment in it,
Yeah.
not financially, but it's like when I went back to college in my mid-20s, I wound up getting a 3.9 grade point average, and I'd never been more than a B student in my life. I just showed up, I did the work, and it led me into an entirely different career course than I ever imagined. And it's just been so valuable and such great connections that I made that opened doors. Um, so I think when we invest ourselves in something, we get what we put into it, we get that out of it.
Yeah,
So
and a lot of the like having to put down a large chunk of change for me really helps with that. Like if I know that there's, $7,000 on the line, like I'm much less likely to waste it than if I like Sid's idea is awesome.
Mhm.
But like between the leadership, the framework, the like-mindedness, like everyone's doing the same thing as I am, and then the investment. When I've done it before, it's worked. I guess the only hang up for me right now is like I've been paying off debt, but I haven't been saving. So I
Mhm.
would just basically, I'd almost put myself back to where I started when I was started paying off all this debt, which, it's not like it's a useless, it's not spending necessarily. I'd look at it as an investment, but, and, I can get it without interest. So there's the only thing I need to really be committed to doing is earning at least that much. And then anything from there is just education or growth. So
And you've got years ahead of you to build on that, those building blocks that you're adding at this point. You may draw on them directly, or you may build on them and find that they lead to something else. So my gut
so my
says that you've got all the right pieces of information, and you're anxious to learn and grow and adapt. And adaptation for writers right now, absolutely essential.
yeah. So my last question for you from a financial advisor's perspective is like I pulled an application for a business credit card. And there's like 0% APR
Mm,
for the first year. It's through Amex, so there's additional benefits. So I could just throw it on a credit card. I could
uh-huh.
also probably make a call and get a personal loan, but there's something for me from the financial side of like not, if I'm going to make this decision, like not relying on somebody else's. I know credit is somebody else's money, but the consequences are on me if I don't pay it back. So that's kind of my line of thinking with how I would finance it. Just any thoughts you have on that?
Zero interest is great, and not involving personal relationships is essential. That's probably not what you meant by personal loan, but certainly the interest rate being low. And if you had a timetable to earn that $7,000 back and pay it back, that would be helpful too, because I notice if I have goals, that's all well and good. But if I don't have a time attached to them, um,
Okay.
deadlines, uh, milestones with dates, then I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
And my
Yeah.
brain just
I
doesn't
have
do it.
about, yeah. I mean, from the borrowing perspective, there's a year to pay that back, but I would try to pay it back almost immediately. But and then on the other side, the client I'm currently working with is essentially just paying my bills, and we have an agreement through the end of the year. So there's also like a real timeline on like I need to produce something new, which I work well with. I have pretty strong ADHD, and pressure like that is actually good for me. So there's two different deadlines there. And yeah, the only risk I see is like I get in there and somehow my radar was completely off, and these guys are selling, a load of shit. But I'm going to try to get them to give me payment terms, and if it is horrible, then worst case scenario is I just cancel the credit card and don't pay the whole thing.
Not good karma there, I think. But
No, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that unless, they're full of shit and they're not willing to give a refund, but I don't see that happening.
well, I wish you luck in it, and if it could strengthen your leads or your marketing alone, that would be worth it. So
Yeah.
good luck. Let us know how it goes. We
All right,
got
sounds good. Thanks.
we had you. Now, if I'd close that, yep, that screws it up. Sid, you got your hand up.
Yeah, I just something to offer to Michael for whatever it's worth, right? So, and it's a little story. So there is, the equivalent of Harvard Business School in India is a management school called Indian Institute of Management in Ahmedabad, right? Where sort of Gandhi had a base. And there's this optional program which students can enroll in. And some of the biggest businesses in India have come out of that little program, like side program. And that program is called Laboratory in Entrepreneurial Motivation. Right. And the thesis of the program is it teaches zero business skills. All it does is basically infuses entrepreneurial motivation to the students. And the thesis is we have some of the biggest and brightest folks in the country, like literally 0.01% of the people make it to that school, right? He said, we want people to build businesses. And what you don't need is another lecture on skills. What you do need is the motivation to take the risk and break out. Right. So, I mean, I find that thesis really compelling. So my question for you would be, is that $7,000 going to give you sort of the kick in the ass and give you the motivation to sort of stay on track, get shit done? I think it's worth it. If you're joining it just for skills, I imagine there might be a different path. I wanted to offer that as something I've seen repeatedly with people who are doing their own thing. Like the missing piece is entrepreneurial motivation and the risk taking and the sort of fear running through, and less the skills. Like the knowledge is available, so for whatever that's worth.
Yeah, no, it's like 99% motivational, and like they give the skills away for free, and that's part of their whole sales pitch is like, here's everything, but it's the implementation and actually doing it. Like I see exactly what they're telling you to do. I know I could do it on my own. The question is, will I do it on my own? I haven't so far. So putting money on the table definitely helps me from the motivational side. And the last time I did it, it was like $5,000, and it's earned me, well over probably 200 in the past 4 years. So the last time I did it, it was a very good investment.
Yeah, there's something very powerful to be said for groups of people doing things together. That energy is multiplicative. Kind of like in my old yoga class, we used to meditate together, and it was a whole different experience than meditating alone. I could just feel all of us just dropping down. So that sounds like a winner. And there are all kinds of courses. I might have to sneeze. There are all kinds of courses from major universities online for free these days. So we might benefit, but that would mostly be for skills. Philip, you've got your hand up, and then maybe that's
Yeah,
it for today.
I just wanted to share my 2 cents with Michael. What Siddharth talked about, that's cool and all of that. Absolutely true and absolutely amazing. I tried getting into that school. I did not make that cut. So I know how good that is. Anyway, here's my personal experience. This February, I joined a business program, dropped $5,000 because I needed the same sort of motivation things you talked about. The support of the people there, the experts there, and the group energy and all of that, like Peter mentioned, Siddharth mentioned, worked. I realized I had other skills I need to learn. So I went and hired a sales coach outside of that for a similar amount. And I kept at it. And I kept at it. I kept at it for 7, 8 months while I was doing all the integration nation calls. And it works. It will show you where your blind spots are, where your hidden talents are. It will make you face your fears, but it will get you the results. Here's another thing with my program that I joined. It had a guarantee that it was a 90-day business program. And so if you do not make an X amount by 90 days, they will work with you for free as well. So aside from all the due diligence and all the things, Michael, check what guarantee do they offer. And if they don't have a strong guarantee like this, you need to ask them why not. And everything, yes, go for it. Hell yes. I got to where I am now because I started 7, 8 months ago. Everything I did not know, I needed to learn. I learned. It was painful. It was hard, but I had very good people telling me a lot of things about what to do. And very experienced people who actually are doing these things. They're not just talking theory again. People are making 2 million a year running this.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, Michael. So go for it if you have the money and if you have the motivation. But you have to be committed and show up at all times, no matter what. You can't give excuses. That is the only way you'll make this work. Yeah.
Agreed. And what they're asking, what their guarantee is actually like, I have a list of questions for my call tomorrow, and that's one of the first ones. So thank you, Philip.
If you guys know of programs that might be applicable of broad interest to the group, then feel free to put them on the timeline, because that's something I hadn't thought of in a while, is getting that kind of coaching. I've gotten one-on-one coaching, but groups are very powerful. So a good thing for me to keep in mind, and appreciate you all. Have a wonderful week. Next week's a big week here in the US for sure.
Yes. Good luck with that. Good luck with that, Peter.
Oh my gosh. Yes, it's either luck or bad or terrible. I don't know.
Yes.
All right.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Later.
See you guys.